Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. Trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Chris Vermeulen from the TechnicalTraders.com. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Hi, thanks for having me, Jim.
Chris, the U.S. Fed cut rates by a quarter point today. However, was there much of a reaction from the markets to that you've seen?
There's a little bit of action going on this afternoon when it hit, and we're really just talking a little bit after this reaction, so we haven't really given it too many hours, but not a huge whipsaw in the market, nothing significant that really kind of alerts me, but, a rate cut, generally good for stocks, it's good for bonds, and it's down for the dollar. The dollar's starting to sell off a little bit here. But overall, nothing too significant. And, the equities markets were down earlier before the news. Now they're trading up. Metals were down as well. Now they're trading up. So that goes in line with general kind of economic indicators that when rates go down, we see those two things rally. And so we're seeing that today. We'll see how strong the close is on the end of the week with this news. A couple more days will really kind of set the tone for how the market is reacting to this. But overall, it doesn't seem to be really kind of, shaking the markets in a huge way.
Natural gas, is it proven to be a hot commodity?
Yeah, well, natural gas has been phenomenal. You and I talked about this 2 weeks ago. It was forming a base. I was talking about how it put in a bottom, and we were just waiting for that momentum to shift from the downside, and it was starting to form a bottom when you and I were talking, and finally it's reversed with a beautiful reversal pattern. We had cycles bottoming out, and the last couple trading sessions, or 3 or 4 trading sessions, we've just seen it explode higher, and it's been an amazing run. More or less, in 3 days, it's gone from support all the way up to long-term resistance from back in September, and I think it's starting to lose a little bit of steam here, but overall, we were playing a UGAS ETF for this play, which is a 3 times leveraged move, and we're up over 20% really in the last 3 or 4 trading sessions here on it. So there's some great potential, and we were looking at natural gas to get in on a pullback back in early September, and it just kept pulling back further and further and further, and it ended up taking a month and a half to actually form a bottom and give us a new signal to go long. But if you can wait for those moves and wait for those proper setups, you get these huge explosive moves. You can make money really quick. You can get in and get out on those trends. We did the same thing with natural gas in August, almost identical chart pattern. And the reason I say this is because gold, silver miners are setting up a little bit different of a pattern, but it has the same type of characteristics. It's building a base, which is a giant bull flag. It's been consolidating, and we're getting closer to the precious metals having a major breakout and a big run. And that's the nice thing about following multiple different asset classes is metals have been out of favor for a month and a half or more, and I haven't been interested in trading them because I'm not looking to short metals. I'm looking to only buy them because they're in a new bull market. So when they're out of favor, we look elsewhere. And the past 2 weeks has been natural gas. And I think we're coming up to the equities markets potentially having an opportunity. I think they could roll over and sell off, and that could be the spark for a precious metals run. So the money's just rotating around the energy, the safe havens, the equities, and we just kind of follow the market around and try to get in to the hot sectors just before or just as they're breaking out.
Is fear a big factor in the stock market right now?
Fear is a big factor, but there's a lack of fear, which is really important. The thing is, we're seeing the volatility index, the VIX is down almost 5% today. It's trading sub 13 levels here, which we've seen happen over and over again on the long-term chart. When we get down to this level, we usually see a major market top get put in, and we could see multiple weeks of selling. We could see 3 to 8% market pullbacks from these levels. So there is no fear, and that's what's, makes me fearful in terms of the stock market rolling over, because if people aren't buying protection, put options to the downside to protect their money, that means they're not that fearful. And you look at the put-call ratio, on average it's been really low. People just aren't looking to hedge their possessions at all. And we've been seeing bonds sell off, meaning they're not afraid of stocks pulling back. They're moving out of the safe havens. They're not thinking about protecting their downside. And to me, that is a sign that we're really close to, I think, a much sharper pullback in the equities market than a lot of people think. Obviously, we're getting a bump with the Fed today. Maybe it carries through for a couple more days or another week or so. But overall, it is stretched to the upside. And until we see some fear creep into the market, which requires some big bouts of selling to really scare everyone, you got to be really careful being long here. I don't think there's a lot more upside at this point.
We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, taking a look at gold, is it poising for another rapid move upwards?
Yeah, gold has got a beautiful chart, especially when you look at the weekly time frame. And it may not take off right away. It's on the verge of a big move, and the big question is, which way is it going to go? And this is where it comes back to, we need to kind of see what the SP 500 does, the broad stock market, because it, to me, kind of guides where the other asset classes are going. So if the stock market breaks out and rallies here, which is possible, it could go into this wall of worry and it just keeps climbing up. And I mean, the market's great at throwing people off their game. So if the stock market rallies, I think we're actually going to see one more downdraft in gold that could last. It could still take another 3, 4, 5 weeks of gold meandering and working its way slowly lower. But overall, the big picture pattern of gold is extremely bullish, and it's just a matter of time before it actually starts to move higher and breaks out. And I think we could see a very large run. I think $1,700, $1,800 an ounce US is not out of the picture. I think that's actually fairly conservative once the next run starts. But gold trading around $1,500 an ounce right now, we could see it continue to fizzle down and get down to that 1450 area. So there's still some room for it to kind of sell off a little bit. But the big picture of gold is still very bullish, and it's the same with the miners and silver as well. They all have a very similar pattern, and they are stuck in a downtrend right now. But long term, they're still primed and ready for a long-term investment to move much higher.
We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after the break.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the 2019 drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, is there any action in crude?
Yeah, crude oil, looking back at the weekly chart, it does have a very bearish tone when you look at the weekly chart in terms of we saw after that attack, the bombing there, we saw a huge gap up in oil, and then it sold off for 3 weeks straight on heavy volume, and now it's bounced and it's kind of been drifting its way sideways and upward, forming what is, at this point, a bear flag. And the volume on that rally or this slow drift higher has been fading, meaning people aren't interested in paying higher prices for crude. There's fewer and fewer people buying it as it goes higher, and that's usually a sign that it's running out of momentum, and it's very close to a pullback. So when you look at the weekly chart of crude, the next major move to the downside would be all the way down to around the $48 per barrel, and if it breaks that level, we'll see some panic washout sell-off that'll probably bring us back down into the December lows, which is around $45 per barrel. So there's a lot of downside potential in crude. It is stuck in a big range between more or less 60 and 51. So it's the breakdown below 51 is going to be critical. From there, we could see it quickly drop to 48 and then to 45. So I think there's some good potential there. I'm not a huge fan of trading it at this point because it's stuck in the middle of its price range. But if it breaks 51 and goes below there, I mean, it could be a great opportunity for a short-term trader. You know, the way that crude's been moving, you could see the drop happen only in a couple of days, so it'd be a very quick swing trade.
The Canadian dollar seems to have held up pretty well compared to other currencies. How is the Canadian dollar doing, and how do you think the U.S. dollar is going to do?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yesterday, the Canadian dollar had a pretty good sell-off, and then today, actually, we've seen it completely tank, giving back the last week and a half of gains, which I'm not sure what really caused that move, but I was really surprised when I just pulled up the chart of Canadian dollar how sharp it pulled back. So the dollar has pulled back to a long-term support zone, but it's been hit pretty hard. And it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. I don't follow the currencies too closely. I just like to get a gauge of what some of them are doing, like the dollar and the Canadian. And obviously the pound has been holding up very well. It's kind of almost an inverse chart of the dollar. Overall money, if the U.S. is lowering the rates, that is not good for the dollar. So the dollar is starting to sell off. And we could very easily see other currencies like the euro, the pound actually start to pick up speed, because if the money's been flowing into the dollar as a safe haven play, but now people aren't going to earn as much money holding U.S. dollars, they're going to naturally pull out and go to other currencies. And I think that's what we're about to see. We could see this could be the start of a pretty big sell-off actually in the dollar. And if that plays into favor for gold, which it should, because the gold typically moves opposite to the dollar, if the dollar tanks, this could be a big catalyst for adding a lot of upside potential for the precious metal sector.
Bitcoin, where is it going?
Bitcoin, it's really been all over the place over the last couple of weeks. We've seen some pretty big intraday moves. We had about a 10 or 15% rally, a couple of them back to back here, and it moved all the way down to its 200-day moving average, which is a long-term support zone for, I don't know if I would say there's long-term investors in Bitcoin, but I mean, that's where long-term investors on a stock market typically look. It acts as a level of support, and Bitcoin hit that level for 3 days, held there, and then had a huge rally. And it's interesting to see how the price action is going. Long-term, the chart for Bitcoin is still very bullish. It is in this big consolidation phase. And, we got to see which way it's going to break out of this level here. It's stuck now between this $10,000 and $7,500 level. And that's going to be a pretty significant level for it to break out of that range. If it can break and hold above that 10,000 level, we could be taking that could be the start of a run back up to $20,000 Bitcoin, because that will be the breakout of a new major bull market or bull flag in that currency. So there's a lot of upside potential there, but at this point it is stuck between 75 and 10,000, and if it breaks below that 7,500, that will be the breakdown. We would most likely see it very quickly collapse down to that. It could easily slide down to 6,000 or that $3,500 breakout area it had. So to me, the big upside play here would be a rally, a break above 10,000 again. That would be a new signal to go long in Bitcoin for potentially, it'd be 100% gain, 10,000 to 20,000 if that pattern plays out. That's where the clear tradable kind of side is in terms of, if I was to trade it, I'd only be looking to get long. I'm not really looking to short Bitcoin at this point.
Chris, how would you sum up the situation right now then?
I would, as a fairly short-term trader, I would be looking to, right now we're mainly in cash. We are only long natural gas. We trimmed off some of our position yesterday, and we are waiting to see either the stock market break out and confirm a rally, and for that to happen, we do need to see the metals break down and go in the opposite direction. If the equities market rolls over here, we'll be looking to get long precious metals and likely bonds. So as a short-term trader, we're really just kind of waiting to see what the SP 500 is going to do, how the other asset classes are starting to move, going into that breakout or the breakdown in the equities. So right now we're sitting 85% cash more or less right now, waiting for a new signal. And the big question is, are we going to be getting long equities or are we going to be getting long precious metals? And we're just kind of waiting for a confirmation of those. So we're at a big tipping point that we've been waiting kind of several weeks, actually a couple of months for this to unfold. And we're super close. It's just a matter of which way the market is going to break. Do we get long equities or long metals? And that's the question right now.
Chris, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, Jim.
My guest has been Chris Vermeulen from thetechnicaltraders.com. If you have any questions for Chris or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@housestreet.com. Find us on Twitter @HouseStreet. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HouseStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HouseStreet.com radio is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.